Last year, he had a real strong year, and then speed first, and he's got a willingness to get in and get into the heavy areas quickly. He's got some good hands on him. We liked his energy. We think we've got two good young prospects there, and who are probably sooner rather than later will make their NHL debut. So he was very good.
Anything on Anton Lundell not out there tonight?
Yeah, completely precautionary. We expect him fully in the lineup tomorrow.
Well, the way things ended, the short turnaround this summer, are you ready to unleash these guys right now?
It didn't. I know it was a short summer, but it didn't feel like that when they came back to camp. There wasn't any, other than the obvious guys that were injured from last season. There wasn't any hangover, if you will, in camp. They went hard in camp, so we're ready to go, as ready as we can be, and it's going to be our adversity hits right at the start, right? We aren't going to spend a lot of time kind of wading into this. We do have a lot of new people here, but we're going to miss some guys, and we're going to have to grind right from the get-go.
You said during the playoffs that you like the idea of starting on the road.
Yeah, I do.
Is it a similar mentality here?
I do. It's a chance to get everybody together, because even like camp is split groups. There's 50 people, so they don't spend as much time just as that group of 22 or 23 guys. So you get them on the road, and they get to laugh and tell jokes, and they're all funny again at the start. So it's a good way to start. I like being on the road.
Coach, I know you leave all the goaltending up to tally, but with being around Bob for the last year plus now,
Yeah.
just the work ethic and the way he prepares himself, just what is it about him that he's able to be ready whenever?
Well, I
for the
think
big situations?
that's his whole life. So he has a routine that's very involved, right? The hours that he puts in are highly unusual for any player, certainly for goaltenders. So you have a great faith in his preparation. I think this year is a different start for him. He understands what the players in front of him are trying to do. We should be more consistent in some ways in front of him, less consistent in that we've got 4 new defensemen in the lineup, so there's going to be some work to do there. But Bob wasn't just good in the playoffs. Sergei was really good from the time he came back in the middle of the year. So he had 4.5 really strong months here, and he gets to build on that. So he has the foundation of his work ethic, but he's also coming back with the confidence that he certainly earned last year.
When you got here last year, what did you learn, or maybe that you didn't know about Sasha Barkov?
Well, he's still getting better. So many of these players at their peak, and it's hard to get better when you get toward the top. There's not a lot of people that can push you to get better. I'm talking about players. But he has a real willingness. He completely changed his training program this summer. You watch training; he looks much faster. He's lighter, but he's still very strong and heavy man. But he's lighter than he was, so he's like driving himself to get better, and that is internal, because he's going to be a great player. If he played the game that he played last year for us, as our team, I think we clearly changed the style of game. He changed his. If he plays that game, he'd be a great player in this league, but he's still trying to get better.
And how much did you miss? I mean, last year with the pneumania, with the busted hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like you guys were on the 8 ball whenever he wasn't there.
Yeah, we had stretches without. Man down. All electronics. I think you have to go off at this point, fellas.
I think it's rain, guys.
It's
Keep
leaking.
going, yeah.
All right, that's the first. That's the very first time that's ever happened. Yeah. So, but I think we have to expect that, right? We have. Every team has their own challenges. We'll travel. I think we're number 2 in miles this year in terms of flight miles in the NHL. We're going to have some wear and tear on players, and we're going to lose key guys at key times. We just did it all year. We also play an aggressive game. There's going to be more contact in our game. There's going to be more puck battles in our game, and that costs you injuries at times, but it's the only chance you have of being successful. So we just have to live with it.
When we're watching the team tomorrow night, can we expect to see a similar game to what we saw in the playoffs? Just in
No, I don't. So yes and no. You can't play fight in hockey. You can't play playoff hockey because there'd be nothing left of any team. It just can't get to that intensity, right? But style, yeah, we expect to be further along in our mental program of what's acceptable, what style of hockey we want to play. I believe we are systematically, just from. You can tell by how a team calls the game, how the players sit on the bench and call the game, because there's lots of talk on the bench. And if they're, the first 4 or 5 months, the coaches are, for the most part, calling the game for the players, teaching while the game is being played, reacting to what's happening. And as soon as the players are calling the bench and calling the game the way that they should call it, they know the game a little bit, and I think we're closer to that.
You talked about Barkov's changed how he trains. Tkachuk had an off-season where he probably couldn't do a lot of stuff. Where's he at as far as?
No, he's 100% ready to go. His numbers are, his fitness numbers are better than they were last year. And anything that he was under the bar in, it would be related to the injury, but not something that won't improve. It was just a broken bone, right? 6 weeks it heals, away you go. So there were things he could do. His legs are fine. His capacity's fine. His upper body strength will come as he goes, but he's fine.
And what do you expect people to carry into this season from last season? That, obviously, once you get to the playoffs, they'll know how to play. But anything in the regular season, or?
No, it has to be continuation of that. So we will talk about that all. There's a certain style of game that's played in the playoffs, which is different than playoff intensity. You can't do that for 82 games. But there's a style of game that we want to play, and that's kind of the accountability standard. So you can walk in and say, those 3 plays that we made in the neutral zone are not plays that we will make in the playoffs. We don't want them in our game. And they will understand what you're talking about. So we have at least half the team was here that went through it last year. It's a simpler, more effective way to communicate with the team because we have a foundation. I'm not trying to convince anybody, right? We have a pretty good understanding of what we need to do.
Paul, I remember during the Vegas series, some of the Vegas players were accusing your team of trying to bait them into penalties, but you said you were not going to change your aggressive style of play.
Yeah.
Is that not going to change this year coming right out of the
Yeah,
gate?
we're not changing who we are. I think that was also gamesmanship on their side. Everybody's trying to work the officials to what might happen. I think they did that to great effect. So, no, the extracurricular things that happen after a whistle will come to you sometimes when you are finishing checks and going hard to net. It's a part of protecting your territory, if you will. It's not part of our system. It just happens in a physical game.
Tampa Bay had a kind of a physical hangover from winning the year before, and you guys, you're out with a couple defensemen this year. Do you sort of look at, I don't know, the season in stages where you're going to be getting people back, or?
No, because that's a fool's game. Because I can't tell you in 6 weeks we don't have 9 guys out, and I'm knocking on wood all over this place internally, right? Like the idea that we can wait 6 weeks till these guys come back and away we go. That's foolishness. This is the team we're taking. We got into the Stanley Cup Final with 4 guys with broken bones. We had to figure out a way to win, and we didn't. So we got to figure out how to way to win now. We just have to keep figuring out a way to handle your adversity. And it's going to be a challenge, especially when our busiest, toughest month is the 30-day block of November into the 2nd of December. We play 16 games, 2 4-game weeks, 1 out west. That's heavy, and we'll do those all without Montour and Ekblad. So the grind is on now for us, scratch and claw. I'm not trying to set the stage for you. I'm just prepping. This isn't going to look easy. It was, well, you went to the final last year. You should just win by 5 and not have to work too hard doing it. No, that's not the way this is going to go. So we got to get into the mud as early and as fast as we can and get comfortable living there.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.